Live.
All right, Unnecessary Roughness, College Football Playoff Edition, brought to you by High Noon Hard Seltzer. High Noon, delicious. Get the Prez pack. They've got the tangerine, the new flavor. It's incredible. Casey, I'm just stretching it as far as I can, but I'm telling you about how delicious High Noon is. Visit highnoonspirits.com for your next tailgate. Find a pack near you. The Prez pack is elite. Everything's elite about High Noon.
Tangerine, year of 2024. It is also the year of Tangerine. Go get it. Brandon said it all. highnoonspirits.com. The holiday season is officially coming to an end, so you're probably getting back home. You know where to find your High Noon, but if you don't, you can get it on Drizzly. You don't have to leave the house, the apartment. highnoonspirits.com. We love High Noon. We loved High Noon in 2020 when we were the first ones to love it. Everyone in the world loves it in 2024. Drink High Noon.
We said when the playoffs were announced, or at least I did, and I think you guys agreed, that this was potentially the most evenly matched and best foursome that we've had in the history of the playoff. And I think that was exactly right. I think we just watched the two best playoff games we have ever seen in tandem together. This was the best pair of semifinal games. Michigan wins in overtime in an absolute war against Alabama. Then Washington holds on against Texas. I don't know how Washington almost lost that game. I don't know how Texas almost won it. I don't know anything about what just happened. I just know somehow Texas both almost pulled off a miracle and also fucking blew it at the end. I have no idea why Quinn Ewers, they get down to the 12-yard line. Do they throw two passes in the flats and two balls not even in the end zone? It was just weird.
The whole thing was where, Jack, your tweet made me laugh out loud, where you're like, this could be the greatest collapse in human history. Because, I mean, even people that were rooting for Texas and Washington thought this game was over. Like, people had called it over immediately, and then all of a sudden you missed like 2 seconds. Like, if you went to the bathroom or you went to go grab a drink or you just got on your phone for a second and you looked up, you're like, holy shit, what is happening? But we'll talk about the whole game. But the end of the game, what Sark did at the end of that game is mind-blowing. Washington letting them back into it in the first place is crazy. But the fact that those were the play calls on essentially the goal line was insane.
Both games came down to the very, very final play, and both games were had some exquisite performances. Both games were fantastic. You know, I think Michigan-Alabama was probably the better game start to finish. It was, you know, if you like slugfest, if you like fuck you can't do anything at the line of scrimmage, you liked Michigan and Alabama. If you like quarterback play and high-level throws that just wow you, then you like what Michael Penix did in the semifinal right there, where he threw for 430 yards, and Quinn Ewers at the end was excellent too. But I think we now know that we've got Michigan, we've got Washington. I think if you thought Michigan was going to play Washington in September to play for a national title, you are a genius. But there you go. We got Michigan, Washington. We will start with the first game, the Rose Bowl. Michigan, Alabama. Alabama sneaks into the playoff, gets in right past Florida State, kind of rides Texas's coattails right into the playoff. They go out there. Michigan and Alabama play an overtime game that Michigan ultimately ends up winning 27-20. I don't even know what the final score was. 27-20. Michigan, their schedule this year, they had two big-time wins, Penn State and Ohio State. I don't know how battle-tested they were, but they looked on this field tonight like the way more battle-tested team than Alabama. As that game got late, one quarterback got better and the other got worse. One team got tougher, the other didn't. And that was Michigan tonight. Michigan was better late than Alabama was, and therefore they're playing for a national title.
Yeah, that game just obviously from start to finish. I mean, we saw the interception that Mccarthy threw right off the top that didn't count because the defender was out of bounds. But obviously neither team was perfect. You know, both teams made mistakes, but it was a tale of two halves too. But the biggest difference to me throughout the entire game, and it's the same thing that we said when Texas played Alabama in week 2, was that Michigan in the trenches just ended up being better than Alabama, both on the defensive and offensive line. Now, that wasn't true the entire game because obviously we saw Alabama kind of dominate the second half a little bit. But throughout the entire game, especially early on, it was just like this Michigan at the line of scrimmage, this Michigan team is just better than Alabama, which is a crazy statement to make because Alabama is always the best on both of those lines. But at the end of the game, that's what it ended up looking like. Again, Jalen, the play at the end, whether it was a bad snap or whatever, we'll get into that. There were mistakes made by both sides. But to me, the biggest difference is Michigan's just better on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
I agree with that to a point. In the first half, that's certainly the case. Michigan fucking dominated the line of scrimmage in the first half.
Especially the defensive line. I mean, Jalen Milroe was on his ass.
Yeah, 5 sacks. They dominated. But in the second half, for most of that second half, up until like the 6 or 5 minute mark of the fourth quarter, Alabama returned the favor, and they were dominating the line of scrimmage. I thought going in, whichever quarterback makes a mistake is going to lose. Now, JJ tried to make a mistake at the beginning and kind of got lucky, but he didn't. He didn't make that mistake. And then Jalen Milroe, Alabama's up. They're at midfield. They're driving. They can step on the throat and win the game. Fumbles at midfield. Now, Michigan ends up missing the field goal, but that absolutely sapped and took away Alabama's momentum when they had a chance to put the game away. And he fumbled the ball at midfield, changed everything. And from that point on, if you're judging the quarterbacks, J.J. McCarthy was pretty much perfect from that point on. Now, a lot of people want to say this, oh, you were wrong about J.J. McCarthy. You were this, you were that, you were this, you were that. Let's examine what I said about J.J. McCarthy the whole time. I don't think he's a top 8, top 9, top 10 quarterback in the country from bell to bell. I really don't. I think there are guys out there that you can trust to go throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns. He's not that guy. Here's the thing. I could have stuck somebody out there tonight with the ability to throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns. I don't know how many guys in the country I can stick out there with a 7-point deficit, 3 minutes to go, and you got to have a touchdown to win a playoff game. I don't know how many guys I can do that. I know J.J. McCarthy joined that group today. Sometimes solid is exactly what a team needs. Solid is what he is. Solid is what Michigan needs. And he was the number 1 quarterback in the world for that Michigan team today. He didn't panic. He didn't freak out. He got the ball down 7, went right down there and scored. Got it in overtime, went and scored. That is what J.J. McCarthy was today, and he took a huge step forward in being a legend at Michigan because now he's 1 game away from winning a title.
Well, and also in the conversations that we've had leading up to this game, and the last time we did this podcast, and Jack, I mean, I know we've talked about this all year as well. It's like what Jalen Milroe looked like through the evolution of the season. His ceiling may be higher than J.J. McCarthy by the end of his career. We don't know. We'll see. But what we had seen him do and the throws that he had been making, we're like, okay, if Jalen Milroe plays the best game Jalen Milroe has ever played, and then J.J. McCarthy does the same thing, you can make that argument. But the thing is that Jalen Milroe made mistakes. J.J. McCarthy tried, but J.J. McCarthy, and Jack, you said this, they were more experienced going to this game. We know what J.J. McCarthy looked like last year against TCU, and he made mistakes. They ended up losing that game. He was not going to do that again tonight. He tried at the beginning, but throughout the game, it was like that nerves got settled where the Alabama players, for the most part, didn't have that experience. I mean, obviously some of them did, but to me, it was like J.J. McCarthy was like, I'm not letting this happen again.
Jack?
Yeah, I thought he played really well. How would I have said that if that heel was 3 inches to the left after the like? I mean,
yeah.
This was like a truly a heavyweight fight. I tweeted that out. It was really fascinating to watch because I thought for the first 2 quarters, Michigan really dominated Alabama, but they made mistakes, and I also think they outcoached them. But whatever adjustments were made in the second or during halftime, and then when they went into the third and fourth quarter, it was definitely in the favor of Alabama. And that may have been Nick Saban, that might have been Tommy Rees and whatnot. But when it came down to it, when I wasn't afraid as a Michigan minus 2.5 better when Alabama got the ball back because Jalen Milroe was forced to throw. I don't know. He doesn't seem like he can do that. He can throw it. It's a weird. I'm not trying to disrespect him.
No, Jet, you're right.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe's arm was not going to win that game.
No,
it wasn't.
And I didn't think they would have been able to take him down the field, and he couldn't. And obviously, I mean, we'll get to the fourth down play and whatnot, but I thought it was just really Harbaugh got the best of Alabama in the first half. Alabama swung back. I really thought Michigan was dead, but
that's where the quarterback difference really, really showed up. Milroe had the ball, chance to put the foot on the throat, and didn't. And he just didn't have that ability today. He was running for his life. He was seeing ghosts out there. He fumbles the ball. Then at the end, that play call, in fairness to Tommy Reese, at the very end, that play call probably could have worked. I don't know if it was a full RPO because you had a running back out with 2 receivers in front of him. He was wide open. You had a guard going this way. And Milroe, first of all, greatest coach in college football history, we can't find a fucking center to snap the ball.
Unbelievable.
All day long, Jalen Milroe is going down. And Jalen Milroe lost his mind. Now, in that moment, Jalen Milroe made the wrong decision. I want you to flash back. I guess maybe it's the third quarter. Maybe it's the fourth. I don't know. How many quarterbacks are making the play that J.J. McCarthy made when they throw back a backwards pass to him? He makes a one-handed catch. Pressure's coming right in his face. He throws it. They get a first down. So many quarterbacks would have shit their pants in that moment.
The only guy that probably would have done that is Jalen Milroe. They're kind of very similar, at least in my opinion. I think
they're remarkably similar. I just think
Jalen's a better runner, in my opinion. But yeah.
And I think you can trust J.J. McCarthy a little bit more in crunch time, which is what we saw today.
And JJ's played so many more games. I think Jalen. Obviously, he'll be their quarterback next year, and I also don't think Jalen Milroe lost this game.
No,
the fumble is brutal though. So but I think he made some seriously good plays.
His mistake, obviously, if you zoom out, made that lost the game. But we're talking a lot about JJ McCarthy, as well we should. But one of the biggest differences too down the end was Blake Corum, and we haven't seen Blake Corum play in these playoff games because he's been hurt, and to have that reliability on him and to know he is just going to bust his ass and he is going to get every time you thought this man was tackled, he wasn't. So you had JJ McCarthy, who you knew was going to be reliable, and you had the option to lean on Blake Corum. It felt like down the stretch, Jalen Milroe, if they were going to win, was going to have to do all of it and be perfect, and we knew that wasn't going to happen.
And he almost, in that overtime, he took them down to that run he had on to get them inside, I think the 10 or whatever, was he's dynamite, but and the safeties and corners. Jermaine Burton was taken out of the game. He's I hate him. I hate Jermaine Burton. All right, I want that on the record.
I saw Jack tweeting about him, and I was like,
every time he got the ball, it seemed like his brain locked up. He didn't know how to move.
For a guy that said the only thing that's on his mind is murder going into that game, he looked like I almost tweeted it out in the third quarter. It's where's Jermaine Burton been? Where's he been? I know he ended up having 4 receptions, but the corners played really, really well, and the safeties did too, because Jalen threw some good deep balls and they were deflected, and the corners were right there. It was a great game. I don't think JJ played the game of. I think he could have played a little tiny bit better.
He played the game of his life, but I think he definitely played the best out of these 2 quarterbacks. I think
easily.
I think if you flip the quarterbacks, if Alabama has J.J. McCarthy and Michigan has Jalen Milroe, I think Alabama wins. I think J.J. McCarthy, when it got to crunch time, one quarterback kept the ship going forward and one kind of struggled a little bit. Now I'll say this. I'll just speak for everybody in the world. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know. But I, for one, am so glad, and my heart is so warm watching a rich piece of shit like Dave Portnoy win $1 million more. I think it is just so fantastic that happened, and I think that's definitely the story, that we saw a fucking asshole go out there who can't name 3 players on the goddamn team, and at least he won some money. Yay, everybody.
That's America. You could have put a lot of your money on
that game. No, I only put money on fucking losers, Jack. I only put money on fucking Texas and Alabama and goddamn Iowa. I don't bet on winners. I stopped betting on winners in November 1st. I haven't hit a college football bet in fucking weeks.
So that's where a little bit of the anger is coming from. I will say, Jack and Katie, a little bit of inside baseball for you two. So at the Arizona Bowl, we've done the pregame show and we go up to the suite because for the first half, it was ungodly hot. And up there is Mrs. Portnoy is one of the sweetest women on the planet. I don't know how she has Dave as her son, with all due respect, but she is so sweet. You can see her, we're asking her questions about going to the Rose Bowl with Dave, and Brandon is trying so hard not to talk shit. Like, you can just see it. He's sitting on the other side of me, and he was like, so why does Dave like Michigan? And was like trying to like kind of troll. And she's like,
that's not what I asked. I said, did you have ties to Michigan before Dave went?
Okay, yes. And she just in the most pure way was like, well, yeah, our daughter went. She was going to be a figure skater. And you just saw Brandon wanting to so bad. So, Brandon, are you happy for at least Linda Portnoy? Yes. Say yes. She's the sweetest woman ever.
She didn't win $1 million. He did.
Well,
whatever. Yeah. Yay, Dave Portnoy. You won $1 million more.
I said Linda, not Dave.
I don't know who. Okay, fine, whatever. But anyway, Michigan 2 years ago, they play an elite SEC team. They get embarrassed. Last year, they play a team they should have beaten, and they play poorly, and they lose. This year, they come in. They play an Alabama team who, while not as good as that Georgia team 2 years ago, still has Nick Saban, still has an outstanding defense. And they fell behind in the second half by 7 points. We're determining a champion, right? This isn't just a playoff to dick around. This isn't a playoff to make people feel good. We're determining a champion. And champions, when they go down 7 with 3 minutes to go, figure out a fucking way to score. When they get to overtime, they figure out a fucking way to score. Whether it's Blake Corum stepping up, whether it's Roman Wilson stepping up and making a play after he does something really fucking stupid, then he gets the ball and he makes a play. That champions, Michigan is now showing that they took the lessons from 2 years ago when they didn't belong on the field, and last year when they really fucked up, and now they're putting it forward, and they're showing that they have developed some sort of championship medal in them. And you can say, Brandon doesn't know ball. This is the absolute truth. They have come through the fucking fire over the last 2 years, better for it, and they beat the greatest college football coach of all time tonight to go to the national championship game. Now, you better fucking win it, because you've never had a better opportunity since 1948 to win an outright national title than you do right now. So it's time to go fucking win it. If they don't win it, it's going to be egg on their face. But that's another conversation for another.
Like Jack said, Jack, if they win it, most pure title of all time, right?
Yeah, no.
Purest.
Well, we'll get into Michigan, Washington.
That clip, clip is still so phenomenal. I don't know where it started getting retweeted today, but I saw it again. I retweet. And Brandon wiping the camera off and stuff.
A little bit about Michigan, Washington. I think it's a phenomenal matchup for Michigan. I think Texas ran the ball for like 7 yards a carry. They just went away from it. Michigan's not going to go away from it. I think they're going to run it down their throat. But we'll look into it later.
Michael Penix is terrifying, though.
No, it'll be that. That game's awesome. I don't feel bad for Alabama. I don't feel bad for their fans. They were given like this win on a platter, much like a lot of their season on a platter. But thank God.
Hold on, Jack. I think they made some really quality adjustments at halftime, came out, and for about 15 to 20 minutes were the better team by far. Now, they dropped it, but I don't think it was handed to them on a platter.
But they were the better team by far. And what was the score at halftime?
It was 13 to 10. Now, they had gotten dominated in the first half.
Dominated.
It was 13 to 10 at halftime.
Yeah.
And then they dominated and they scored 10 points. It's like
But I think that's very similar to Michigan, don't you? They dominated for like 2 quarters, and they had 13. And then Alabama had a turn where they dominate. They only scored 10 points. It's a war.
And I wouldn't have felt bad for Michigan fans either, because they had if that punt returner, I don't know what he was doing. He had a huge drop on third down too. Yeah. There was multiple
I'll say this. This was an absolutely high-level physical war of a football game. There were a lot of mistakes by these two teams.
Special teams was awful.
Special teams for Michigan were awful. Milroe had the fumble. There was Alabama had a lot of stupid penalties. Like there was a lot of mistakes where you say, all right, well, this team can finally do this, and then they'd fuck up. Michigan Michigan ties the game. Alabama gets the ball back with 55 seconds left and a couple timeouts, and Alabama goes nowhere. They punt, and Michigan almost fucking fumbles the punt for a safety. Like it was crazy. The things that these teams did wrong, but guess what? You're in a national semifinal against a quality team. These are going to happen, and Michigan ended up making the plays to win the game.
I know that it's always like this after these games are played, but to me, that especially because you had the backdrop of the Rose Bowl, and I know Jack and Brandon, you're not huge fans of the Rose Bowl itself, but it was on January 1st and it was on a Monday. So here we are. But that the Rose Bowl today had everything that you could possibly want for a college football game. Because yes, it's a lot of fun to go out and watch games that are played perfectly and nobody makes mistakes. But the best thing about college football is that you do get these moments where you're like, these are still guys that are 18, 19, 20 years old muffing punts. These are still guys that are going to make these mistakes. But as long as they're going back and forth and exchanging those punches, then you add the backdrop of the Rose Bowl. Then you add it's a semifinal. Then you add that it goes into overtime and you have Nick Saban against Jim Harbaugh. To me, this was the perfect college football game because you got it all. You got everything. You got the crazy decisions. You got weird coaching decisions. You got mistakes. And then you got really good football on top of it. And that's what made it so fun. I thought there was no chance we would get any type of drama in the Sugar Bowl even close. Now, I still think that game was way better. But the fact that we got two dramatic finishes like that, and we think that the national title game will actually be competitive where it wasn't last year, like this is by far the best way to send the 14 playoff out.
It might be competitive. We'll see. I mean, I could see one team handling business. But anyway, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. One more thing I want to say about Michigan. We've talked about J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum and the play calling and yada, yada, yada. The defense won that football. The defense is amazing. The defense is they don't have one star. They don't have two stars. They got a bunch of fucking stars on that defense. Every level of that defense is good. The defensive line is swarming. The linebackers are all over the place. The defensive backs are glued to receivers. Like, I can't remember tonight a wide open receiver for Alabama down the field. I can't. And Milroe, for all his mistakes he might have made this year, he could run the football and he could hit downfield shots. Now, he wasn't hitting the intermediate stuff. He could hit downfield shots. He did it against Georgia. He did it against other teams. Didn't do it tonight because that Michigan defense was nasty.
They just the highlights are on in here, and it just showed at 3rd and goal, and it's like that the receiver was open and he hits like a good intermediate pass, but immediately swarmed by 2 or 3 Michigan defenders. Like it was like there was just nothing available to them. And when we previewed this game last week and we were making our final predictions, like to me it was like this defense, and I know that the Big Ten is not, the offensive caliber of other conferences, but the fact that Michigan has the top defense in the country to me was going to make that difference. Like the defensive line, and I know it wasn't perfect, but the defensive line doing what it did to Jalen Milroe early in that game is, I mean, then that was the difference maker for me. Because, go ahead.
To me, the last play perfectly exemplifies why Michigan's playing for a national title and Alabama's not.
Insane.
The snap was a little low. It was a little low. The play was blocked decently. There was an option out to the left, and Milroe went down, got the snap, and lost his mind. Just freaked out, ran straight into the pile. Ball game over. Didn't give his team a chance to win. Is there anybody that doubts if J.J. McCarthy is catching that snap and Michigan is in the same situation, that ball's a little low? I feel like that dude's figuring out a way to get the ball 3 yards. I feel like that it's the same thing he did when he caught the one-handed backward pass where that should have been a big fuck up of a play, and he made it not so. That's the difference in the game.
Even if he wouldn't have found a way to get it 3 yards, which I agree with you, I do think he wouldn't have panicked the way and just run straight into the pile of Michigan defenders or vice versa like that. And that's why in the moment, it was easy to be like, oh my God, all these timeouts and this college basketball type ending. That's what Nick Saban had drawn up. Like when you stop and look at it, it's like, that's just because Jalen Milroe didn't know how to handle that moment.
I was still, like that snap, like the snap, like it has to be better.
Oh, it does for sure.
So people on Twitter were saying it was an RPO, and then Saban said after the game, I guess he said it was a run play. Who knows? He may just be lying or whatnot. So it's tough. Like that last play, it's just like I agree with you. JJ may have done a little bit better, but that's tough. Like Jalen, the ball went on his legs, and he was just like, I have to do what I have to do right now, and the best thing I can do is literally be a bowling ball. Yeah, and he was. And I mean,
well, there are a lot of defenses.
His guard got pushed. He got tackled by his guard because his guard got pushed back so bad. Like his offensive line did not do his job there.
There's a lot of defenses that he could have been a bowling ball against, and it would have been probably fine. But it goes back to
not from there. I mean, he was the 3-yard line when he just ran into a bunch of dudes.
Michigan's defense is just also they were a wall a lot of the night. Like his offensive line.
I feel like there's a conversion in that play. I think there's a conversion in that play. He did not make it. He freaked out too much. The ball should be snapped better. You're playing for a chance to play for a national title, and you throw a center out there that has bad snaps all night. That's not like a Nick Saban team. I don't understand why that guy.
I mean, he had the snap. That center had the snap that set up the 4th and 31.
Why was he allowed to suck all night? Why was this guy allowed to suck so much? I don't understand.
He had issues against Texas, I believe, and then they figured it out, and then it kind of popped back. He must have like yips, like nerve issues, because it was early in the season, and then it was later when like during the Auburn game.
It was they're showing every single angle, and it's like, I mean, the snap was definitely low, but you're right. I mean, Brandon, it was like Jalen just shot out of a cannon. He was like, shit, I got to do something, and just ran right into it. Like that was like, this is my only option. Again, it's not completely his fault, but I think at the end of the day, it's just like this game had everything. The Rose Bowl had absolutely everything. The storylines, Jim Harbaugh versus Nick Saban, phenomenal game. And I mean, instant classic. And to both of your credit, as you said multiple times, and obviously it came to fruition. We don't know for sure, but we know if Florida State played in this game today, it would have absolutely stunk out loud.
All right, listen. I have a shit list coming later.
Okay. All right. Also,
there's somebody who may need to be put in a mental institution.
Katie, we might have to do something about this kid. I don't know what this kid's deal is.
Technically, it's not my purview. I do merch, so but yes,
Ooh,
I know
exactly what's going on.
I know who Brandon's talking about, and I know who Jack's talking about. Two different
I was
people.
joking around. Like I think Danny Cannell's kind of playing it up a little bit, but like I was saying that like we may need to put Danny Cannell in a mental institution. Just joking around. I don't actually think that, folks.
And Brandon's talking about the Florida State Viceroy, I would assume.
He's fucking going through it. He's talking about suing everybody. I like whatever. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to talk about Florida State fans and my shit list.
Jack, you need to look at it. But hold on, before we go to the next game, you guys know what we're one game away from, right?
The last one.
No, he's talking about the blood oath where I can't talk about Michigan doing.
Oh no.
What?
I mean, that's true too. Katie being a YKB girl and getting a banner because she said Michigan was going to win the national.
No, it was if membership will be opened up. It wasn't an official banner.
Listen, that's the YKB. It only comes open once every like 10 years. So I
don't
listen.
No. You said that if Michigan won, it'd be opened. It'd be brought to the floor.
Katie gets her flowers because it is Brandon, I give you all the credit in the world because I didn't know where we were going to go today with this podcast, but she's been fighting a silent uphill battle with her Michigan take all year. I've been fighting an out loud one. Jack's been fighting an out loud one with you. She's been fighting it silently, and she's the only one that picked them to win. And she is.
Whoa! I picked Michigan to win.
No, the national title. I'm talking about like before. Oh no, we all the three of us picked Michigan to win. I'm saying before the season started, Katie was the only one.
Wait, Katie, did you end up picking Michigan or did you pick Alabama? Because I know you were at 50-50.
No, in the podcast, I picked Michigan and said Alabama scares the shit out of me.
Got it. Well, I mean, I mean, the books, like we'll look at the books. Like, here's the thing: in The Sopranos, when Christopher got brought into the family and put on the books, like the books were open, he got cursed. So, like, we don't want like there was a black crow that came in during the ceremony. Like, we don't want that to happen to you. So, like, maybe it's better, like,
from where I am, stuff's working. So I'm also okay with not messing it up.
All right, let's switch to the other game, and we can circle back to Michigan in a little bit. But before we do, if I asked you, Casey, how many subscriptions you have, would you be able to list all of them and how much you're paying right now? Would you?
Yes, and you want to know why? Because I've been using Rocket Money for a long time. I know the answer probably should be no, but the good news is I've actually been using Rocket Money for a long time, long before they were on the podcast, as I've said multiple times. When Katie sent the new ad of Rocket Money, I was like, oh, holy shit, I have that app. I've been using it because I sign up for a lot of unwanted subscriptions, Brandon. I sign up for that free trial. They run my card. I don't look at my credit card statement. Rocket Money does for me.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/rough. That's rocketmoney.com/rough. rocketmoney.com/rough. Before we get into Washington winning their playoff game, I have one sentence reviews on a couple of other games, okay? Very quickly, just going to hammer through them. Liberty belonged nowhere near the New Year's Six. It's embarrassing.
Did you see how much they got mad at us for that clip? Did you
just
see?
Ridiculous. Liberty, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I thought the evangelical church was going to come down my house and and nothing but respect for my evangelical Christians out there. It's nothing but respect. But all that being said, the Liberty fans were so mad at us.
The committee used so much common sense to keep Florida State out when they probably shouldn't have been in, yet they did not extend that common sense to Liberty, who had no business with the worst strength of schedule in the country playing in a game like that. That was stupid and ugly. Oregon finishes their season strong. Washington winning helps their final ranking. Tennessee, Nico looks legit. They got to be excited for what they got coming soon.
I'm all in. Nico's, I just want to say quickly, Nico's my guy. He's mine. I am all in on this guy. I think he, the way he moves his body, pause, but it's crazy. This guy is, and people are gonna be like, oh, it's just a book. Iowa has a good defense, man. JJ McCarthy looked bad against Iowa's defense. Nico was tearing them up. Pause, right. But he was tearing them up.
Ole Miss beats Penn State, finishes with 11 wins for the first time ever. Kudos to them, and then they go, and they're going to be very excited for next year. Same as Missouri. State of Missouri has recognized my excellence as a ball knower. We'll talk about that more later. Florida State loses by 60 to Georgia. Florida State had a choice as a team and as men. When they got snubbed, they could stand up and fight, or they could cut tail and run like coward bitches, and they ran like coward bitches, and it ended up with a 63.
We may need to have an emergency podcast about what that game was and how everyone reacted. I'm also so over the bowl games or exhibitions, whatnot. Y'all only say that when you lose, all right? So shut your. And the 60 points was unacceptable, disgusting. Who are you? Who are you, Florida State? And you did all this talking, and then you get ran through. They had Will Muschamp's son out there who is a Nepo baby quarterback, okay? No disrespect to him. And he was tearing you guys up.
Yeah, there was.
What? No disrespect.
It seems like a little disrespect.
There was some stank in that. There was some stank in that. Brandon, before we move on from Liberty, and I know that this was a conversation that was being had, and it got tossed to the side real quickly because of the semifinals, but with the 12-team playoff now, all the conversation is what that group of 5 bid's going to look like to me. And it was a horrible game today, and it was a horrible game to watch. But does it help next year to say, okay, do you see what we did last year when you had them playing Oregon in the New Year's Six Bowl? We cannot give them an automatic bid if they've not played a Power 5 team.
I'm fine considering a G5 team that deserves to be in the 12-team playoff or the 12-team playoff. I'm even fine if you put in some qualifiers that if they hit those, they get the automatic bid. But there cannot be an automatic bid every year. There was not a team good enough this year. SMU wasn't good enough. Troy wasn't good enough. And Liberty wasn't even close to good enough. It would have been wasting a spot. It cannot be an automatic qualifier every year for simply the highest-ranked G5 team unless we're going to really put some common sense into how we rank these G5 teams. Now, we're talking about shit we don't need to talk about because Michigan is going to play Washington. Washington just beat Texas. I thought Texas was going to run through Washington. I thought Texas was going to be tougher than them. I thought they'd be stronger than them, and I was wrong. Washington is better coached than Texas, and Washington has that dude, and that dude is Michael Penix Jr. And a lot of people tonight DM me and said, hey, he should have won the Heisman. He should have won the Heisman. No, last 5 or 6 games of the season, he kind of dipped a little bit. He didn't play quite as good as he did the first 6 games. I'm fine that he didn't win the Heisman, but that's small potatoes compared to what he might win now. Don't worry about the fucking Heisman. Don't worry about individual. He might lead his team to a national championship. This guy throws the prettiest fucking football I have ever seen in my life.
Not only that, like a couple of them didn't matter because they were either penalties or they didn't get caught, but like the arc on it, it's like a beautiful spiral. He can throw it 250 yards, but it's just a perfect cartoon spiral football throw. Like everything about it is beautiful. And I don't know if you saw his interview after the game, because we obviously jumped right on here, but like I heard a little bit of it, and he just, even the way he carries himself, like I know that that's maybe like a mom thing to say now. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sucker for a sweet storyline, but just him being like, I could have quit so many different times. Like he's so humble, at least outward facing. He just seems like such a good dude, and he throws such a perfect ball. It's hard not to root for this guy. Like everything about him seems to be a great college football story, and he's just really, really fucking good.
Yeah, his ball, like he'll throw it. When it needs to, that's one of the things I didn't like about JJ McCarthy today. He had about 5 or 6 passes that were 3 or 4 yards down the field that he just threw 90 miles an hour, and it was through right. Michael Penix throws with the perfect touch, the perfect angle, down the field, 35 yards. He will just drop it in a bucket. And Beautiful. These guys, credit to them, they'll catch it, because Quinn Ewers had a guy drop one tonight. But Michael Penix is like the perfect quarterback for this team. He's the perfect quarterback for this year in football, and he's been fantastic.
Yeah, he's great. And Jack, I know that we've talked a lot about stories in college football where you go get your second chance, but like when you look back at his storyline and like how much hype he had in Indiana, and then it kind of fell through, and like I think for the life of this podcast, he's one of my favorite stories that we've seen.
Yeah, he is, and he's been with us almost from the beginning. I just remember how he played at Indiana. He was good. I mean, he led them to a great season, but I never saw this shit coming ever.
He was phenomenal tonight. I mean, he just, how he handles blitzes, how he handles pressures.
They're not even there. Like they're not even fucking there.
That's the best way to describe it. It's like he just knows they're coming and he just throws it, which that saying, he makes it look easy, is so true with him. And the guy tore his ACL twice. I think he tore ACL in both knees.
Both
I know
sides.
I know the ACL surgery's gotten so much better throughout the years, but that's also part of the journey for him. I mean, what a story. Good for him. Makes college football great. And it's not even just, this is a feel-good story. He's the best quarterback in the country. He's one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in college football in a while. And I know we can get into him versus Jalen Daniels and whatnot. It's not really worth it. One's playing for national championship, one won the Heisman.
Right.
So
but I kind of,
yeah, go ahead, Casey.
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you were done. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I understand that the Heisman is a regular season award, and I get that it will be until the end of time probably. But this is why I wish that you waited. Now, I know that that's not fair necessarily to guys like Jayden Daniels or guys who don't play in the playoff. Maybe with the playoff expansion, you can make a different argument that you're going to see enough of the top quarterbacks or top players in the country in the playoff to move the Heisman. I don't know if they ever would do that. But like Michael Penix, to me, is the Heisman Trophy winner. Like he should have won it. I understand Jayden Daniels had better numbers on the ground, and I get that.
I don't know what. Oh, an idiot Florida State fan. Don't put these idiots. These over-emotional fucking idiots.
No, we'll get there. But I do feel like, Jayden Daniels deserved to win it because of what he did on a team that was much, obviously much less, because they did, LSU was LSU by the end of the season. But Michael Penix doing what he did tonight, like I understand his numbers started to dip a little bit, but that's the best quarterback in the country. Like he is the best quarterback in the country. Yeah,
he was great tonight. I don't want to re-adjudicate the Heisman or nothing, because again, Michael Penix has a chance to win something far more important.
For sure. But you said you think it could potentially be a blowout. You think?
No, but he has a chance to win the national title.
No, I didn't know.
I don't think he's going to, but he has a chance to.
You think Michigan could potentially blow them out?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that Michigan could control the line of scrimmage. Like JJ may not have, may not have to do anything.
I think Michigan will have the opportunity to play their style of football and have it matter more than it did tonight. Alabama can match them physically. I don't think Washington will be able to match them. Texas again ran for 7 yards a carry. They just didn't run it that much. They fell behind. If Texas with freshman running backs is running for 7 yards a carry, Blake Corum and I just think the matchup is terrible for Washington. Nobody in the world wants Washington to win more than me. I don't want Dave Portnoy to win. I don't want cheaters to win. I don't want it to happen. My eyeballs tell me the matchup is perfection for Michigan.
Can I ask you a question? And I asked this last week, and I fell right into this trap too. I've fallen into the trap every step of the way. And of course, I do think Michigan's going to win as well. I thought whoever won the Rose Bowl today would win, whether it was Alabama or Michigan. I feel like there's some disrespect with Washington right now. That's just like the overall narrative.
It's been the whole time.
I know. So it's like, but I think we're doing it again already. Like it's 1:40 on the East Coast right after the college football playoffs are over, and we're already like, well, I mean, Washington might lose by a bunch to Michigan. It's like we did it with Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. They proved us wrong.
I did.
A lot of people did it in this game. I mean, you said you thought Texas would win by multiple touchdowns, and it's like, well, maybe they're just really fucking good.
Well, they are really good. And listen, I thought that they got that disrespect against Oregon. They passed that test twice. And then I legitimately thought Texas would be tougher at the line of scrimmage than they were. They were not. I thought Quinn Ewers would be able to keep up with Penix. He did not. I thought Texas had playmakers that would match Washington's. They did not. I thought Texas's coach was as good as DeBoer. He is not. So they passed every single test. Now all they got to do is make me look stupid again next week. By the way, been pretty easy this year. Michigan's done it. So Washington just did it today. So I do think Michigan has a matchup advantage in this game, but I also thought Texas did. So they're going to have to play this game.
Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
A storyline in this game, I think Sark was really bad tonight.
I think he was fucking awful.
Awful.
Him not going for 2 when it was 34 to 20. They scored to make it 34-27. He elected to take the extra point and not the 2-point conversion. Obviously thinking we'll stop them and then we'll win with the extra point. But going for 2 there would have made it an 8-point game.
If you get it to one
Michigan went down the field and then scored a field goal, which they did. I know this is all ifs, ands, and buts, but that is a decision you have to make. And even if you don't get the 2-point conversion, it's still a 7-point game. Also, and we mentioned it at the top, the last 4 plays were awful. The first play to the flat makes no sense. I don't maybe they were like, no one's going to cover them. Okay, there's sometimes people run routes all the time. If no one covers them, you throw it to them. And if they don't, you don't. A guy was there. Ewers threw it to him. It was like, no, you're throwing it to him no matter what. That wasted 1 play. It's essentially like
they did it twice.
So bad.
Yeah. And then you have to, like, you have a gun, right? And you have 4 bullets, and there's 4 people in front of you.
Yeah.
You just wasted 1. Why? Why?
They had a gun with 4 bullets. They shot in the air 3 times.
And then even the 4th shot was
a low percentage shot.
It was, they wanted to do like a Matrix shot where they like jumped in the air in slow motion and like
it was like a showman. It was like a cowboy that was like, you know what? I only need 1 bullet. Bang, 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 and now I'm going to close my eyes. Bang! Oh shit! I didn't hit anything.
Was there like? Did they think of running anybody over the middle? Like I don't know.
I don't know.
Here's the thing: Sark is a good play caller. We know this. But
Sark shits the bed when it gets tight. Sark, he did it against Oklahoma. He did it tonight.
Did you notice before the 3rd down play, the play where he threw it out of bounds, and there's 1 second left? Yeah. They didn't get that play call in until like 8 seconds on the play clock. They were like, ESPN,
they were so confused.
I was like, are they going to get the play? They were looking over, and then they finally got it off. I don't know if that's as an advantage to not tip off the defense, but it couldn't have been. It seemed like Sark couldn't make a decision.
It was so weird because they got the ball. They went, 65 yards? Like that. They were decisive. He threw it down the field, made plays. They got to the 12-yard line, and they looked like the most indecisive pussy bitches in the world.
By the way, I mean, we haven't even talked about this. The fact that they even were able to get the ball back in that position is crazy with the injury timeout and the clock runoff and all of that. Like, that alone is a whole podcast, I swear to God, with like the people react. But the fact that and it's not because I look at Quinn Ewers and Texas and Sark and say, okay, it's going to be the way they were able to move the ball down. I was like, they're going to win by 1 point. Like, that's just what's going to happen because they were able to move the ball with ease after that.
I thought it was over.
It was over. Like, it was like like I said off the top, like the collapse and the greatest collapse in human history. But it was like, you're not even being dramatic. Like the way that Quinn Ewers was able to move the ball down the field with just a tiny bit of time left that they probably shouldn't even have. But that's the way the rule book is. I'm like, that Texas is going to win. And the fact that Sark, because you obviously are going to blame it on him, did that 4 plays inside the 15-yard line, like inside the 12-yard line with 15 seconds left. Insanity.
They had the ball with 15 seconds left on the 15, or maybe it was 20.
It was a
12.
And
I remember thinking, this game's over. They're gonna score a touchdown, and it's gonna be the greatest collapse ever. And credit to Washington, it didn't even seem like their players were. I mean, I'm sure they were nervous, but also we do have to point out that 30, 40-yard pass, that was pass interference. The number 19, whatever his name is on Texas, like threw the guy to the ground. But also the things that led up to that. Now, the guy got carted off. You better crawl to the sideline.
Dylan Johnson, the Mississippi transfer, yeah.
You better crawl to the sideline. We ain't giving them a timeout, bro. Like this I'm sorry, you crawl.
Or grab the nearest offensive lineman and say, "Pick me up and carry
me up." I don't care. And then we'll figure it out. Like, I'm sorry, you're not bigger than the team.
Reattach my leg later.
You have to be dying. You have to be dying.
That whole thing is crazy.
I thought somebody in the pile, and I thought it would have been really smart, literally punched him as hard as they could, like in the balls, and he was like, I can't move. But all that being said, that would have been unbelievable.
What are you looking at?
I don't know. There's noises coming from down here somewhere. All right. Let me tell you about HelloFresh very quickly. Whether your resolution is to save money, to eat better, or stress less, HelloFresh is here to help you do all three. Say hello to your most delicious year yet with fresh ingredients and chef-crafted recipes at a price you'll like, delivered right to your door. Each HelloFresh box is packed with farm-fresh ingredients, and everything arrives pre-portioned right to your doorstep for less hassle and less wasted food. Casey, HelloFresh, you've always been a big fan.
Big fan. I've been paying for my own HelloFresh for a long time because that's how much I love it. And I'm very excited January, as everybody knows, it's like your get right month, New Year's resolutions. If you're into that, or if you're not, doesn't matter. Like, it's the holidays are over. It's time to get right. And HelloFresh can help you do that. And you don't have to go to the store, like all the things Brandon said. But for me, it's great because I can eat healthy. It's very easy to cook. It's very delicious. And I can pick my menu every single week right on the app and say, it's time to get hot again, Brandon. Yeah. It's time to get hot again in 2024.
All right, group. Before I finish this ad, we're going to do who won the day, who lost the day, shit list. Okay.
Are you like hearing ghosts or something?
No, I guess my kids are awake, and I didn't know that. I don't know if they just woke up. Just choose your meals and select your delivery date. HelloFresh handles the meal planning and the shopping. So all you have to do is open your weekly box of pre-portioned ingredients and step-by-step recipes to get cooking. Go to HelloFresh.com/WalkerFree and use code WalkerFree for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/WalkerFree with code WalkerFree. And once again, I'm talking to this mic, and I have no idea why it hasn't been on for years.
It's just the look of it. You want to look more professional. They're running back, obviously, all the highlights on this. The botch snap for Michigan on the extra point, too, horrific. Like, just
there were a lot of little mistakes by both teams.
Special teams. I mean, and there are special teams mistakes in both games that you're just like, how in the world is this happening at this high of a level of college football?
All right. Casey Smith, who won today?
The fans, Brandon, the fans. Obviously, you could say Michigan. Obviously, you could say Washington, and both are great cases. But the fans won today because, we're going to the 12-team playoff next year. I am still very for the 12-team playoff. I cannot wait. I think if we saw 12 teams this year, it would be electric. But to get 2 great semifinals, and I do believe that the national title game is going to be very exciting. I think it's going to be very close. Like, we saw the best of college football today. We saw the absolute best. And like I said, it wasn't perfect, but that's what makes college football better. I don't want to see a completely polished professional type game like the NFL. And it wasn't we've seen so many bad semifinal games, and to have both of these games look the way that they did, regardless of who you root for, if you're just a college football fan, today was fucking awesome.
Jack, who won today?
I think Michigan as a whole, that includes Jim Harbaugh and JJ McCarthy the most, and their fans. Their fans were attacked endlessly this year to the degree that was, harassment. It was too much. It was really too much. And it was all, and, a good man, a man who served for this country, lost his job because of it. And they said, you were only good because you stole the signs. And then Michigan said, hey, guys, everybody does this. And everyone's like, Michigan did it. And then they beat Ohio State. They beat Penn State. And then they beat Alabama. Now you have one more to go. And if you do it, it's glorious. It's like, this doesn't come around often. I mean, the storyline, everything, the script is perfect this year. I'll tell you that much. And so I'm giving it to Michigan and their fans. Congratulations. Let's not forget, we almost fired Jim Harbaugh because he couldn't beat Ohio State. He's in the national championship. I'm not saying people were wrong at that moment when like who knows if that.
All right, Jack, wrap the fuck up, man.
This is life. This is life. But who knows where Michigan is if they didn't get COVID and had to cancel that Ohio State game in 2020. I don't know. I don't know.
That's definitely exactly what happened.
Brandon, are you not going to give Jack the same energy you give me on the college football show when I do what he just did?
Listen.
Give him the energy.
This is who won the week. He had a chance. You have a chance. She has a chance. He's right in who won the week. He's right in who won the day. Like, that's right. I mean, poor Michigan fans. They had multiple cheating scandals this year. They got sorry. You reap what you sow in life, right? Anyway, I'm not going to step all over it.
That's
Katie,
fair. No, that is also fair.
Who won the week today, Katie?
I think it's just Jim Harbaugh. We said he's like the James Franklin. You're not going to do it, not going to do it, not going to do it. And then he did it. And he beat Nick Saban. He made the national championship. And then it's weird. I feel like there's already conversation like the goalpost got moved again. Like, I don't know if it's like winning it is defining or breaking it, but Jim Harbaugh, he did it. He won a semifinal game.
He does have to. And I agree with Katie. There's a lot of moving the goalpost, even with Washington. But he has to win this one on Monday. Like, you got to win this. You have to
Even
win.
if you think – go.
I want it quickly. Like, do you think – who feels the worst? I think Texas fans feel the worst right now. I think this was their year. Like, I think this –
bad. You know who should feel bad? Georgia fans.
Yeah.
That Alabama team should not have beaten that Georgia team.
Yeah.
They came out, Kirby Smart and that team absolutely bitched out in the SEC title game. I'll say it. They fell for the boogeyman again, even after conquering him. And Nick Saban went and he beat a Georgia team that he was not as talented as, not as good as, and he beat their fucking ass. And he almost did it to Michigan. This was not a great Alabama team, but it was almost good enough because he's so fucking good to win a national title. But anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Katie, who was going?
No, Katie was saying Jim Harbaugh, and I know we'll have another episode or two or whatever before the national championship. I don't know if I agree with Jim Harbaugh has to win this one for his legacy to be cemented or whatever it is. Like,
he has to win this one.
No, you have to win this one.
The whole thing
Even if
was
it's like really close.
He's
like,
never won it. He's never won one. He's never won it yet.
no, I know. I'm not saying that it'll be like the same thing. Like obviously, yes, but like the whole thing was like, well, if he loses to Alabama, then he loses 3 years in a row, and then all of a sudden it's like he can't ever win a playoff game. Like he just beat Nick Saban. They out-coached Nick Saban a lot of this game. I agree with you, Katie. The goalpost that's crazy.
No. You have to win. You have to win.
We
Sorry.
will never have a better
we
chance.
Don't play for. We
I
don't
do
play for
agree with that.
semifinals.
I agree with that he'll never have a better chance, obviously.
If
but
he
like,
doesn't win this one, what's this all been for?
he's going to the NFL anyways.
Right. But if he doesn't win this one, what's this all for?
Could we be disrespecting Washington in this?
Yes.
No, I'm going to cover
1000%.
Washington. None of y'all did. None of y'all did. So I'll cover Washington. Okay.
Right.
I'll take care of Washington.
I was the one that said that I think we've all disrespected them.
No,
Because
I'll take care of all of y'all said Harbaugh, and I'll take
I said
care
the
of
fans. I said the fans. Go ahead. Brandon Walker, who won the weekend?
Well, I have a co-winner. Because, number one, obviously, Jim Harbaugh, obviously Michigan, obviously J.J. McCarthy. Again, it's a 3-year process. You get killed in the first year in the playoffs. It's embarrassing. You lose to a TCU team you had no business losing to, and then you get here and you have the scandal and you answer the bell against Alabama. Now you're playing for a national title. One of the biggest wins in the history of the school. Like, this is not a school. This is the all-time wins leaders, right? They haven't won an outright national title in almost 80 years. 80 years. They have one split national title since 1948. Now they get a chance to win it. But we are kind of ignoring the fact that out west, 2 years ago, Washington, what were they? They didn't know where they were going. They didn't know what they were doing. They hire Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer goes against Michael Penix, high-flying offense. All of a sudden, this guy is the most under-talked about coach in America. This guy in 2 years has Washington playing for a fucking national championship, and Washington's a good program. But that quick, that fast, with a guy who was at Indiana who nobody saw this coming from, Kalen DeBoer and Washington had a huge win. I know that Michigan gets all the attention because they've dominated headlines. I know that. Like Harbaugh, JJ have dominated headlines. But they're playing for 50. They're 50% of this equation, and the other 50% came out of nowhere because they hired the right coach who went and got the right quarterback and did everything.
I agree with you.
And they're going to the Big Ten. I mean, like,
yeah, like the Pac-12, like is going away. I do think that if Texas would have won this game tonight, we would have been like we would have been talking about Texas a whole lot more. Not us. Like I'm saying, like in general, it feels like it's like in the Rose Bowl, it being first and being in overtime and all that. Like I get that, but it's kind of just like, okay, well, Michigan's going to win the thing. And it's like, if Texas would have been there, I feel like we would be talking about it more. It's like Washington's just this like little story. It's like, no, they're really fucking good.
Hey, Jack, is this the first time in the history of the playoff that it's been Blue State versus Blue State for the championship?
Oh,
yeah, I was about to say, well, Michigan flips sometimes, right? I think.
Yeah, but they got that crazy ass woman.
Oh, yeah, I know. Whitmer or whatever. Sorry, I'm getting back. But I was going to say, you could get a winner geographical college football one or like national college football one today.
Yeah.
Even though Texas isn't in the Big 12 or Texas is in the Big 12, not the SEC. They are in the SEC. Like they're an SEC team now. It's, these are two North teams. One's Pacific Northwest, and one is as north as it gets. That's pretty that's rare in college football. And we're gonna have that graphic where it's like that little oval where it says this is the area that every college football national championship's been outside of like two for the past 20 years. We're having one that's not in that oval.
Yeah, even when SEC didn't win it, Clemson was right in their area. Florida State was right in the area. Only Ohio State was outside of it.
And Texas, Texas isn't too far. LSU, obviously, it's right in that area.
All right, quickly, let's do who lost the weekend. Casey, who lost today?
I mean, I think Texas fans probably feel the worst, but I think Alabama fans, and maybe it's just my little bubble. But I mean, when I put out my tweet today that I said, my mind is telling me Michigan, Texas, and my body and heart is saying Michigan, Washington, and I didn't mention Alabama. Alabama fans in my DMs on Instagram, Alabama fans on the tweet. It's like they forgot that they almost lost to Auburn. It's like they forgot that they beat Georgia in a weird way. They forgot that they lost Texas. Like they were so convinced that they were going to win the whole thing, regardless of what happened before. And that's fine. You can have that mentality. But for me, Alabama fans got a dose of reality today. Alabama fans got the, hey, just because you made it to the college football playoff, and yes, you have the greatest college football head coach of all time, no doubt. Anybody would take Nick Saban, does not mean that you are just automatically going to win something just because you're the only SEC team in it. And that's the way that it felt to me. It felt like they were, hey, we're the 4th seed. Yeah, we may have dropped a game to Texas. That was in week 2. We are the big bad SEC team. We've got Goliath as our head coach. Everything's going to be easy. Dose of reality, folks. If you don't have the players you're used to having and they make mistakes, things are going to happen. They're going to be fine. They have Nick Saban. They've lost before. But there was a weird air of confidence to me that they had that didn't make much sense going in today. They thought Michigan was pathetic, and they got proven wrong. They lost the week.
Jack, who lost the week?
Sark. He'll be back. I mean, he's a guy who's been all over the place. I mean, you want to talk about redemption stories, and that's phenomenal. And he's going to continue on at Texas, and I think he has a great program going on over there, and he'll be there for a long time if things continue the way they're going. But today, he did not coach well enough, and it's his first playoff game. And, the brights are the lights are very bright in these big-time moments, and sometimes you don't know how you're going to react. And it's a learning experience. What really stinks is a learning experience that you don't know when you're gonna get it again. It's a lot of things have to go right for you to get into these things. Now it's with 12, but you're going to a tougher conference. This was a year to really win it, because I think and Michigan's beatable, very beatable in my opinion. And I think Texas could beat them. I think Washington can. And this was the year that they had the chance, and you had this game. You were gifted an opportunity at the end, and you didn't. You didn't call the right plays at the end of the game. So Sark is my loser.
Katie.
I agree with Sark, but to add in for another one, the SEC. I think this is going to be the first game with no SEC teams since 2014, and the first year that SEC team won't win until 2018. So just for everyone who says it's SEC, not this year. You lost.
That's a pretty amazing run. I will merge mine with the shit list because I'm just going right to my shit list. Y'all can have one if you want.
No, honestly, but you were going to ask me, and I was going to gift my time to you because I don't have a shit list. I am feeling great today, okay. And I know yours is going to be stand-up worthy if I had pants on.
Well,
there's information. Okay.
I have pants on. I'm at my parents' house. I have pants on.
My shit list. The institution, the fans, the players, everybody associated with Florida State University, the last 36 hours have been some of the most embarrassing I have ever seen from anybody. Florida State fans, I will start with you. Not only did you refuse to acknowledge common sense when you didn't get in a few weeks ago, I understand that. No fan base in the country would have been happy when they got left out. I would have been pissed. Jack would have been pissed. Everybody would have been pissed. But at some point, you have to acknowledge reality, and you have to say, well, we didn't have our quarterback. That's why they left us out. But no, instead, you get to a game against Georgia. Your players and coaches tucked tail, and they ran from competition. They did not want the smoke. They didn't want anything to do with it, and they got their ass embarrassed on national TV 63-3. When they got snubbed, they had a choice. Do we stand up as men and be counted, or do we run for the hills? And they ran for the hills. And now today, Alabama plays against Michigan. Alabama who jumped you because they beat Georgia. Alabama who lost to Texas in the regular season. Alabama who had a loss. But they played against Michigan, the number one team. They went to overtime. They lost a terrific football game. It was a war. And Florida State fans came out of the woodwork and jumped up and down and celebrated and yelled, despite the fact that 2 days from now, 2 days ago, they lost by 60 motherfucking points in front of God and everybody. They lost by 60 points, and they had the gall, the audacity to come on Twitter and everywhere and say, huh, see? Alabama lost. Alabama lost to Michigan. They didn't belong. We belong. We would have beat Alabama and Michigan. No, the fuck you would not have. You couldn't move the ball against goddamn Florida and fucking Louisville. You're going to move against Michigan and Alabama? No. Reality is your hopes and dreams died when Jordan Travis got hurt. That sucks. It's not fair. It is not fair at all. I wish it hadn't happened to you, but it did. But you've spent 6 weeks since that happened, since you got snubbed, being the biggest fucking idiots in the goddamn world. Shut the fuck up and get over it. That is my shit list.
Holy shit. That was like Clark Griswold and Christmas Vacation.
That felt
Yeah,
good.
no, they.
Woo! Hey, Brandon, 2024. That for you to usher in 2024 with that type of passion off of your chest like that.
Yeah.
That's why you're the number one media personality in the whole
Also,
country.
Did you see everybody bring up Jalen Milroe's stats? Here's the thing.
We had a guy. Our guy had more yards. Yes, your guy had more yards in a 60-point loss than Jalen Milroe had against the best defense in the fucking country.
And Jalen Milroe, we critiqued him all night, but Jalen Milroe's pretty fucking good. And also not for nothing, offensive line, but whatever. On Florida State, I just want to reiterate my shit list. Jermaine Burton, you're a loser. You did that thing. You ran over to Georgia after. Georgia didn't unless somebody wants to alert me, and I will put out a statement apologizing. Georgia did nothing wrong to Jermaine Burton. They brought you a national championship, and then you leave, you get scared by a alpha fee running on the field on Rocky Top, assault her, somehow don't get suspended for any games, and then you have a pretty good season this year. And you say you're going to go in, the only thing on your mind is murder, and then you go 4 receptions, 21 yards, 0 assaults, which is great for you, and one bout of cramps. Your lasting legacy in college football is you on the ground with cramps. And that's it. See ya, Jermaine Burton. I probably because everybody plays until they're 38 now, and people are like, whoa, well, this is great. He'll probably be back next year. But yeah, Jermaine Burton's my shit list.
All right. Woo!
Katie, do you have a shit list?
No, I don't have a shit list. Brandon, do you want to talk about anything about The Rock?
No, I got to be up at 5:30 in the morning to go back to work. So
Same.
I'll talk about.
I thought you were going to get a hotel in Chicago. They even have those anymore? They have any spots? They have any?
I forgot in my bag, so I had to come home.
I heard they got no more Chicago hotel rooms anymore. They gave them away.
Brandon, I know you have a couple days. I will see you in 2 days in Chicago. But the college football show that we're taping this week, I'm worried. I'm worried.
Oh,
I'm worried.
Yeah. We'll have a guy that won $1 million and he's a fucking idiot. Yeah.
I don't think that we're going to talk about. I don't even know. I'm a babysitter, a glorified babysitter sometimes on that show, and I'm a little concerned for more so Ev, but you too.
Let's get out of here. We'll be back whenever we come back, probably Thursday. Otherwise, that's unnecessary roughness.
Photo, everyone.